why be feared? Or it's the thing, yes, I have opportunity to become something, but it's not a long-lasting thing. Or I'm in a bad mood. But this is not a problem of ethical. These people are not ethical. They take only yes, they choose a hard way, but then they are afraid of them, and they go then at the next opportunity from this way out. And to be at the end, I thank you all, and I wish us all, and to me sad, that we are as persons of integrity, as intellectual IQ, also at ethical IQ. Then will our society, will our universities not be at the level the best one. No, it's not a question of to be best one. In my paper and in my expression, I will be more happy when we are said we are ethical. Thank you. Please excuse my English is not so good.
We understood.
Thank you very much. Hvala lepa za krasno uvodno predavanje. Now there is we have a bit delay, but okay, we have time maybe for 1 to 2 questions.
Yeah.
Any question the audience?
Please don't.
Or even if we do a set of questions before closing the session, maybe it's also. But yeah, now we go next speaker. We go with the program. Next speaker is Professor from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Social and Computer Science on the University of Maribor. We all know Professor Oysteršek as the one who started first here in Slovenia with ensuring technical conditions maybe to speak about those issues. We can speak a lot about those issues, but also we have technical possibilities. We know some global solutions, but we have also our own solution in the frame of national system of repositories, and Professor Oysteršek, I'm sure, can do a great presentation about those aspects of issues. Please.
I will speak in Slovene, but I have English slides because I think here at Ministry is also important that we speak also in our language. But all other lectures will be in English. Also, if you have some questions, I will answer also in English. Torej, lepo pozdravljeni. Vesel od vas, ki že kar nekaj časa pozna. Dejansko se ukvarjamo z razvojem nacionalne infrastrukture odprtega dostopa, v okviru katere smo razvili tudi detektor predmetov. Tema današnjega predavanja je pa dejansko, kako smo vplivali za to našo nacionalno infrastrukturo na akademsko integriteto in zmanjšanje plagiarizma na slovenskih akademskih inštitucijah. Če pogledamo leta 2012, smo nekako začutili, da bi bilo potrebno začeti z vzpostavljanjem infrastrukture, ki bi omogočala transparentno prikazovanje znanstvenih rezultatov in pa seveda lažji dostop do teh znanstvenih rezultatov, zaključnih del, člankov in ostalega gradiva. V tem času je bilo več kot 40 odprto dostopnih revij, več kot 20 različnih digitalnih arhivov in repozitorijev. Vendar, kaj je bil problem? Problem je bil, da ti repozitoriji in digitalni arhivi niso bili dosegljivi prek enotne točke. Poleg tega problem je bil tudi, da so se publikacije replicirale. Precej publikacij je bilo v zaprtem dostopu in pa kvaliteta teh metapodatkov je bila relativno slaba. In pa kar je zelo pomembno za akademsko integriteto, ni bilo vzpostavljenih procesov za oddajo ključnih del znanstvenih publikacij, raziskovalnih podatkov in ostale produkcije, ki jo pač producirajo akademske inštitucije. Potem tudi ni bilo enega priporočilnega sistema in pa ni bilo enega sistema za detekcijo podobnih del. Razno na naši univerzi smo od leta 2008 vzpostavljali takšen sistem. Seveda tudi ni bilo vzpostavljenih enih politik glede metapodatkov, potem shranjevanja teh podatkov, potem dejansko torej oddajanja del in pa seveda v tistem času še tudi ni bilo vzpostavljenih nekih, kako bi rekel, etičnih kodeksov in pa tudi ostalih podpornih dokumentov, ki omogočajo izboljšanje akademske in raziskovalne integritete. No, nekako skupaj z Univerzo v Ljubljani, Univerzo na Primorskem in Univerzo v Novi Gorici in pa naša univerza smo začeli projekt ODUN leta 2012, septembra, v okviru katerega smo vzpostavili 4 repozitorije, torej repozitorij Univerze v Ljubljani, repozitorij Univerze na Primorskem, repozitorij Univerze v Novi Gorici in dopolnili digitalno knjižnico Univerze v Mariboru. Nekako leta 2014 smo vzpostavili še repozitorij za raziskovalne inštitucije, torej, ki niso del univerz, in pa nekako 2015 smo vzpostavili tudi repozitorij samostojnih visokošolskih organizacij. Seveda smo pa v sam sistem vključili tudi ostale digitalne arhive. Najprej seveda arhive, ki so bili znotraj Univerze v Ljubljani, e-princ od Fakultete za računalništvo in informatiko, PF-princ od Pedagoške fakultete in Drak od Fakultete za gradbeništvo. Potem pa še tudi ostale digitalne arhive. Eden je arhiv družboslovnih podatkov, potem je tudi digitalna knjižnica Slovenije, video lectures, .net, digitalna knjižnica ministrstva za obrambo. Vključili smo tudi še en repozitorij CV, ki pa je sedaj del repozitorija Viros in pa pred približno pol leta smo vključili tudi revije od ZRC SAZU. Kar je pa pomembno, vse te publikacije se zbirajo v nacionalnem portalu, kjer se izvaja detekcija plagiatov, izvaja se skupni iskalnik in pa izvaja se priporočilni sistem. Torej, če kliknemo naprimer v repozitorij Univerze v Ljubljani na enega izmed gradiv, bomo dobili podobna dela znotraj repozitorija v Ljubljani in pa podobna dela v drugih repozitorijih. Tako seveda uporabniku prihrani čas iskanja, če išče določena gradiva, ki bi ga zanimala pri njegovem raziskovanju. Pomembno je pa seveda to, da je vse to v odprtem dostopu in da lahko dejansko uporabljajo potem ta gradiva vsi uporabniki interneta brezplačno. No, mogoče na kratko, kak je ta repozitorij posamezen narejen, nekako povezan je tudi z autentikacijo Arnes AI, torej z enim uporabniškim imenom in gestom, se pojavite. Potem povezan je z akademskim informacijskim sistemom tiste univerze in povezan je tudi z Kobisom. Potem pa seveda, kar je pomembno v Ljubljani, na univerzi v Ljubljani, je povezan tudi z njihovim dokumentnim sistemom. Pa seveda je povezan z nacionalnim portalom, torej vse, kar se vstavi v repozitorij, se prenese v nacionalni portal, če so avtorji iz drugih repozitorijev, se seveda prenese to gradivo, oziroma meta podatki v gradivo tudi v druge repozitorije. Torej, če so mediji iz univerze v Novi Gorici, je soavtor članka prvega avtorja iz univerze v Ljubljani, se seveda prenese in meta podatki tudi v tistih repozitorij. Pomembna stvar je pa seveda tudi ta umestnik, ki nam omogoča, da podatke posredujemo v OpenAir, ki zbira vse odprto dostopna metapodatke na vseh odprto dostopnih delih v Evropi. Potem Vodart Europe, ki zbira podatke o doktorskih dizertacijah in pa potem še po drugi repozitorije, v katere se posredujejo metapodatki. In pa seveda, kar smo omogočili, smo tudi JavaScript API, da so ti podatki malo mobilno aplikacijo, torej dejansko je celotna infrastruktura dosegljiva tudi prek mobilnih telefonih na vseh teh treh platformah. Ta Windows platforma sedaj izumira, ampak dejansko aplikacija tudi dostopa. In pa seveda, kar je še pomembno, podatke lahko uporabljajo tudi na posameznih inštitucijah. To je na kratko v sami infrastrukturi, zdaj bomo si pa pogledali ravno tisti del, ki vpliva vsekakor na izboljšanje oziroma zmanjšanje plagiarizma, to so pa procesi, ki smo jih postavili. Tu je sicer prikazan proces, ki se izvaja na univerzi v Mariboru in Novi Gorici, na univerzi na Primorskem in na univerzi v Ljubljani je nekoliko modificiran proces. Znotraj tega procesa je pomembna stvar, da dela oddajajo študenti in tako kasneje bomo videli zaposleni, preveri se seveda podobnost v nacionalnem portalu in potem obvestilo o poročilu dobijo tako mentor kot referat in pa študent. In seveda, če se mentor strinja, da je delo ustrezno, potem se dejansko študentu mu sporoči, da lahko da to delo v repozitorij in ko ga dokončno odda in potem, ko odda vezane oblike v referat, takrat se potem to delo v študentskem referatu zaklene in zatem se tudi v institucionalnem repozitoriju, torej tako zaklene, se pa tudi obvesti potem knjižničarja in knjižničar potem katalogizira to delo v kopisu. Tale del katalogizacije bo precej poenostavljen v relativno zelo kratkem času, že po tem mesecu, tako da bo knjižničar že meta podatke prejel v Kobis in bo dejansko samo preveril, če so meta podatki pravilni. Najpomembnejši del v zvezi z akademskim integritete je tukaj, torej, ko se preverja podobnost del. Potem imamo diagram za publikacije raziskovalcev. Tukaj ni obvezna detekcija plagiatov, imajo pa seveda raziskovalci možnost, da preverijo tudi za svoja dela, ko so ta dela podobna z drugimi. Tako da tu je pa torej še ta del tukaj. No, zdaj mogoče povedal še malo o tem, kateri dokumenti so pa tisti, ki so se dopolnili med trajanjem projekta in pa tudi še po trajanjem projekta. Naprimer, na univerzi v Ljubljani so dopolnili statut. Potem, seveda, ponekod so že bili postavljeni etični kodeksi. Pri nas, naprimer, na naši univerzi je ravno profesor Holzman bil iniciator tega, da se ta Code of Ethics postavi. Drugače pa večina inštitucij, tudi samostojne visokošolske inštitucije, imajo vzpostavljene torej tele code of ethics. Nekatere imajo vzpostavljene tudi etične kodekse na področju obravnave pri biomedicinskih raziskavah in pa tudi nekatere imajo vzpostavljene pravilnike v zvezi z raziskovalno integriteto, torej tako imenovane code of conduct na področje raziskovanja. Vzorovale so se pa, koliko sem gledal, največ po tem European Code of Conduct for Research Integrity. Potem, kar je pomembno tudi na univerzah, so vzpostavljena pravila za zaščito avtorskih pravic in seveda tudi v okviru tega, vsaj v naši univerzi je tako, tudi kdo je lastnik tistih avtorskih pravic, če je avtor iz univerze in kako se potem razdeljuje tisti finančni prihodek in pa kako tudi univerza spodbuja dejansko raziskovalce, da bi patentirali in pomaga z finančnimi vložki, seveda potem pač zaradi tega ima nekaj tudi dobi nazaj. Pomembno je tudi, da se vzpostavljajo politike odprtega dostopa. Pri nas smo relativno, lahko rekel, že zelo blizu tega, da bomo to politiko vzpostavili. Potem, kar je pomembno, dopolnila so se tudi pravila za ocenjevanje in pa ovrednotenje študentskega znanja, predvsem kar se plagiarizma tiče in pa goljufanja na izpitih. Potem so se tudi dopolnila pravila za torej pripravo in potem zagovor zaključnih del od diplomskih del do magistrskih in doktorskih del. Potem seveda že v okviru projekta smo tudi definirali kar precej nekaj bi lahko rekel dokumentov v zvezi s tem, kako preverjati podobnost, torej dejansko smo navodila definirali, ker kaj je največji problem? Največji problem je, da ni tako lahko, kot boste videli potem pri naslednjih prezentacijah določiti, kaj je plagiat, kaj ni plagiat. To je zmeraj subjektivno mnenje. Vsak računalniški program vam lahko da samo informacijo o procentu podobnosti. Ne more vam pa povedati, ali avtor prepisal nekaj navedel je sekundarni vir, ni navedel primarnega vira, ali je dobesedno nekaj skopiral, ali je parafraziral besedilo, ali je ukradel idejo, ampak precej stvari se da z detektorji plagiatov ugotoviti oziroma ugotoviti podobnost. Ni pa dejansko sistema, ki bi danes lahko avtomatsko rekel, to je plagiat. To mora dejansko človek ugotoviti, koliko je dejansko, naprimer, študent ali pa avtor nekega članka vložil samostojnega dela v ta članek, koliko je pa dobesednega prepisal nekoga drugega. Kar še je mogoče pomembno, definirali so se tudi procesi na področju ugotavljanja in pa sankcioniranja plagiarizma, ki so velikokrat vezani tudi na tale pravila, na ocenjevanje in pa torej študentskega dela in pa na pravila v zvezi z goljufanjem. Torej, ta pravila tudi so že na vseh univerzah nekaj definirano, torej ti procesi, če pride do plagiata, kam se ta plagiat prijavi, kdo ta plagiat obravnava, činoma je to neka komisija najprej znotraj fakultete, potem se še lahko oblikuje komisija na znotraj univerze, običajno pa najprej potem senat fakultete potrdi, če gre za plagiat, potem še pa senat univerze in zatem se pač odzame naslov. Edini problem je ta, da se seveda potem tisti, ki se s tem ne strinjajo, pritožijo lahko tudi na sodišče in potem odvisno od tega pač lahko tudi postopki trajajo več let. Poznam postopek, ki traja že 5 let, pa še tega ni zaključen. Zato, ker pač ima dotična oseba zelo dobre odvetnike, čeprav je očitno plagiarizem, pa še premalo pomanjkanje samostojnega dela. Res pa, da to, naprimer, jaz kot strokovnjak za tole, kaj je podobno, kaj ni podobno, lahko ocenim samo, če je to prepisano, pa če so viri pravi, ki so bili navedeni, ali gre za sekundarne, ali gre za primarne vire, ampak strokovnjaki za določeno področje pa lahko zelo dobro ocenijo, če je, naprimer, nekdo neke samo sinonime uporabil, parafraziral besedilo. No, pa tudi na tem smo delali smo tudi na navodilih za preventivo in pa za ozaveščanje. No, jaz tudi osebno sem kar precej tečajev že izvedel na različnih univerzah v zvezi z tem, da so se akademske institucije pač seznanile s tem, na kak način je potrebno reagirati, na kak način je treba študente opozarjati. Zato, ker največji problem nastopi, da študenti ne vedo, oni ne vedoč neke stvari prepišejo iz interneta in ne navedejo ustrezno vire. In je treba jih opozarjati, predvsem v tistih začetnih letih, ne gre za to, da bi že takoj človeka sankcionirali, ki o tem ne ve kaj dosti. Tako da, vidite, no, pa smo naredili takšen sistem, to je en interfejs za prikaz uporabniškega vmesnika. No, ko se vstavi delo noter, se prikaže 60 najbolj podobnih kandidatov in za te kandidatne dokumente se potem v tem dokumentu prikaže, kaj je podobno. Seveda tudi interaktivno lahko tole pogledamo, lahko tudi, če bi tukaj kliknili, bi lahko gledali, kako dolgi so tisti nizi znakov, ki so prepisani. Pa seveda potem se tudi PDF poročilo zgenerira, to poročilo pa potem služi temu, da ga dejansko študenti stiska in ga sočasno da tudi v referat. Lahko ga pa seveda tudi študentski referat v knjižničarju stiska. Zdaj nekatere univerze omogočajo dostop do tudi skrbniškega vmesnika tega sistema, druge univerze omogočajo samo uporabo tega sistema prek vtičnika Moodle in pa preko njihovega akademskega informacijskega sistema. Tako da čisto odvisno je od univerze do univerze. Nekatere univerze imajo torej samo bolj restriktivni dostop možno direktno do vmesnika, ker se da več stvari pogledati. Več o tem ne bom razlagal, bi pa mogoče predstavil malo rezultate iz enega korpusa, ki smo ga naredili za en drug projekt iz celotnega torej nabora, ki je že zdaj tam prek 190 000 del. In sicer tale korpus je sestavljen iz 80 000 dokumentov. Dejansko delamo en projekt znanstvena besedila, v okviru katerega bomo poskušali skupaj z Inštitutom Jožef Štefan, filozofsko fakulteto v Ljubljani in FDV v Ljubljani, pa naša fakulteta, bomo poskušali ekstrahirati strokovno terminologijo. In seveda smo morali naša gradiva kategorizirati v znanstvena področja. Problem je, da v Kobisu seveda se kategorizirajo stvari tako, da se dodaja zraven tudi vrstilec UDK, ki pa seveda ni primerno za klasifikacijo v znanstvena področja, zato smo mi naredili preslikavo v serif klasifikacijo in smo klasificirali gradiva v gradiva, ki so vezane na biomedicinsko znanost, na družboslovje, humanistiko, naravoslovje in pa tehnične znanosti. Kot vidite, se število publikacij razlikuje. Zakaj se razlikuje? Predvsej zato, ker na družboslovju je tradicija že precej večja. Naprimer, FDV in pa ekonomska fakulteta ta gradiva že dejansko poddajata tam od leta 2000 oziroma 2003. Pri nas na naši univerzi imamo tudi gradiva tam od leta 2005, znate od FRI v Ljubljani. Dejansko pa se je na naši univerzi DGUM 2008 postavili, da se takrat začeli stvari dodajati. Vidi se, da torej na področju družboslovja imamo največ gradiv, seveda, ker je največ gradiv, je tudi statistično povprečna podobnost gradiv z drugimi, to je podobnost na nivoju nizov znakov, ki so daljši od 15 znakov, tam 20%, 19% je pa nekako povprečna podobnost gradiv, ki smo jih tukaj zajeli. Tako da, tule se, ko vidimo, kar razlikujejo tele potem torej povprečne podobnosti, kar je zopet zanimivo, glede na tipologijo hobis, smo pa seveda ta gradiva razdelili na znanstvene članke in potem pa tudi doktorske disertacije, diplome, potem magisterije in pa ostalo gradivo. Zopet se vidi, da je največ imamo teh diplomskih del in tudi podobnosti se nekako skladajo s tem, kar smo predvidevali, da seveda doktorske disertacije morajo imeti najmanj podobnosti, potem so to magistrske naloge. Ja, pa tudi, kot vidimo, kot tudi vidimo povprečne podobnosti tukaj, ki so, se vidi, da tudi pri znanstvenih člankih so relativno kar visoki, zdaj pa predvsem za večini primerov za članke, torej, še ena stvar je, vsi ti članki so v slovenskem jeziku, to sem pozabil povedati. Nismo vzeli ostalih člankov. Prvič je naša baza angleških besedil relativno precej manjša, drugič pa seveda ta projekt znanstvenega besedila se ukvarja z ekstrakcijo besedil samo v slovenskem jeziku. Tu se vidijo te povprečne podobnosti in pa odstopanja, pa tudi se vidijo tukaj še standardne deviacije. Potem naslednja stvar, ki je zanimiva glede na to, na procent podobnosti, in sicer to so gradiva, ki imajo do 10% podobnosti, to so gradiva od 10 do 20%, od 20 do 30, 30 do 40, in tako naprej, kar je zelo zanimivo, da je tudi gradiv, ki so več kot 40% podobne, kar precej. Če bi tole si pogledali, je to cirka 11%, oziroma 9700 pa še nekaj teh. To ne moremo reči, da so ta gradiva plagijati. Ampak mi lahko vseeno pričakujemo, da je med temi gradivi tudi kar nekaj plagijatov. Kje je vzrok? Vzrok je predvsem v tem, kot bomo videli na eni izmed naslednjih prosojnic, ta še pravila, veste, od leta 2000 pa tam, bi lahko rekel, da leta 2012 niso bila dovolj dobro definirana. Tako mentori, kot tudi študenti niso bili seznani z pravili ustreznega citiranja, ustrezne uporabe virov. In zaradi tega nastaja še kar je precej teh del. Vidite, tu pa so tudi še, bi lahko rekel, deleži. Deleži, koliko je takšnih del, ki so dejansko pač v procentih, torej, koliko procentov je takšnih, ki so. No, vidite, tule je zdaj tole prikazano, tale procent podobnosti, vidimo, da se manjša, ampak če bi tole vse skupaj še šteli, je teh del še kar precej. Zdaj bi še pa mogoče prikazal samo tole, to distribucijo. Vidite, tu smo pa delali še eno stvar. Dela smo razdelili na tista, ki so več kot 20% podobne in manj kot 70%, ker med tistimi, ki so več kot 70% podobna, je kar precej del, tudi te smo že iz raziskave prej izločili, precej del takšnih, ki so druge verzije istega dela, tako da zaradi tega smo ta izločili, kaj je več od 70%, ampak tu se tudi po letih prikaže in vidi se, da se trend teh del manjša s tem časom, tako da tule so pa vsa dela, ki so manj kot 70% podobne in tu smo te procente računali. In na tej prosojnici se vidi, vidite, da z pravili, ki smo jih pač na univerzah in pa tudi ostalih inštitucijah sprejeli, se število, torej delež teh del precej zmanjšuje. Tako da se stanje izboljšuje na tem področju. Zdaj pa samo še čisto na kratko malo, kje najdete več informacij, torej to so naši repozitoriji, tu še en članek, ki smo skupaj za gospod Mojco Potar napisali, o tej infrastrukturi, pa upam, da bomo še nekaj člankov objavili na to temo, ker je zdaj že skoraj 5 let, kar nam ta stvar deluje. To je bilo z moje strani vse. Če me potrebujete, so to moje podatki, to pa vas prošam, mogoče za kakšna vprašanja.
Hvala lepa, professor Ojstošek, zanimivo predavanje. Thank you very much for interesting presentation. Especially those results are very, let's say, interesting in the end. And yeah, if there are any questions, maybe now, or as we have maybe 5 minutes before closing the session. Oh, please, okay.
It's very interesting information that regarding this your suspicion of social studies and practice. I just wonder, because we gather some suspicion because our system, and we assume that probably this programming error is typically so in your case.
No, it's not programming error. We tested with more than 20 millions of documents out somewhere, and nobody told us that it's problem. On the beginning, we have fixed, but this beginning has been in 2008, 2009, but we improved every day our programs, because our students are also clever, and they want to see what our program works. For example, they also one of them make a program which is set with one visible card, one invisible card. So, but we fix this because one of professors show us where is the problem, and we now eliminate all invisible characters from the stream of data. Yes.
Dvakrat objavijo v različnih revijah, ne vem, podoben članek, če to ni plagiatorstvo, mislim, ne moraš samo od sebe prepisati, se pa seveda in to nekje tičkuja, pri tistih vseh pravilnikih, pa mogoče še tudi kje druge, pa kakšnem financiranju, naprimer z državne strani. Kako tukaj pa etika pri tem vprašanje, ali kako to se tretira v vaši sferi visokošolski? To, da profesor sam sebe citira, pa v bistvu primerjaš 2 članka, 3 pa podobno piše, več novega ni.
Vse problem nastopa, veste, da je precej je remixov, torej kompilacij. It's a lot of compilation of research papers, and also it's a lot of permutations of parts of papers in another papers. This is big problem, and I think that our ministry and also our agency of research need to have an instrument to see these deviations and to improve this, because now our agency want to have more papers. We are on our, how I say, Slovenian secrets is Slovenian research system for evaluation of research results, and if you have more points, you have more possibilities to earn money from government side. So it is not ethical to have more than one paper on the same how I say, topic.
Kako primeri, ko pa je identičen prispevek na 2 konferencah?
Yes. We have also this.
Naslov je samo naslov je recimo drugačen.
We have also some of cases where only abstract and conclusion is same, but is not saying all other parts are. It's
In kakšni bi bili pol postopki v tem primeru?
I don't know. This depends on institutions. This depends on government. My opinion is that today we need to have some people from government to see where is problem. I hope that they will watch this video and to see where is problems.
Can I answer? My opinion is it's not a governmental problem. It's an academic problem. It's our problem. Because we are now running after money. But is our task in this world to make money or to make educated people? In Slovenian language we have a good word for this. Izobraževanje. To make faces when I'm translating it into English. And we must question ourselves, how good are these faces which we are making and giving in the society? And this is question, and it's ethical question. It's ethical question, and it's our autonomous question of our academic institutions, from our academy, from our universities, to bottom of to each one of the researchers and to each one of the pedagogical people at the university, because we have a constitutional autonomy in our land, and there is not a question of a government. It's question because they are giving us money, but it's not a question about dividing. It's question how we are doing or how we are making that this money comes to us, and this is ethical question. It's not a so-called authoritative question of this can I say as a man from law, for example.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. And now I'm very glad to announce next speaker, Professor Dr. Tomaž Fortinek from the Mediji University in Brno. Professor Fortinek is involved into plagiarism issues and similar processes, not just at the Czech Republic national level, but also at the European level through some, let's say, projects founded by the European Union. And basically he will represent the tasks and also the possibilities how to develop organizations in this field. We are a European network for academic integrity, so please, Professor Fortinek, it's your lesson.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much for nice introduction, and thank all of you for coming. It's a real pleasure for me to be in Ljubljana in Slovenia. It's my actually second time in Slovenia. First time it was in mountains, and definitely not the last time because Triglav is still waiting for me. I couldn't climb it for the first time, so I'm still hoping to climb Triglav more time. And I also hope that it is not the last time we are meeting to discuss the integrity issues. So my task now is to tell you something about newly founded European Network for Academic Integrity. So I want to tell you what it is for, what the activities are, how do we work. So first question, why we established a European network. I and my colleagues were dealing with research in plagiarism policies and academic integrity since 2010, and some of my colleagues even earlier. And there are we found that there are huge differences among countries and among institutions. There are some institutions which take these issues really seriously, have developed policies, and we can say that students are prevented from cheating. Also, academics are motivated to do their scientific work properly and ethically. On the other hand, there are institutions where nobody cares about these issues. You can find stickers of contract cheating companies in the toilets, and the professors don't care that students are buying their essays and theses, which then cause some problems. First problem is in student mobility. We know that due to Bologna process, we in whole Europe are trying to unify standards for students' effort. We have ECTS, so we can recognize courses taken in other institutions. We can recognize even whole degrees gained at other institutions, and we have to trust each other, not only in terms of the effort that student had to put to his or her education, but also to the processes which are in place. We have to trust that the student really gained his or her knowledge and didn't pass their exams just by buying the essays or copying from their mates. However, and it's not only about the recognition of like mutual recognition among European higher education institutions. It's about overall trust of the diplomas we are issuing. The future employers of our students has to trust that if there is a graduate with diploma from our institutions, that this person really has the knowledge we are presenting. However, there are many institutions which don't train neither teachers nor students how to write a thesis properly, how to avoid plagiarism, how to avoid cheating. Sometimes management have no idea what's happening in the classroom. We are conducting research in Southeast Europe, doing interviews with management and focus groups with students, and at the same time I was vice dean of a faculty, which I don't want to mention, and she told me that, well, we don't have any problem with student cheating. Our students are motivated, they are convinced that the education is worth it, so they really learn properly, and I can guarantee that we have no plagiarism. And if there is, the teachers, the supervisors can recognize it and punish it properly. So I asked them, do you use any software for detection of plagiarism? No, that the supervisor is able to recognize it without any software. We have such a good supervisors. And my colleague, Rita, she is here, she was in the same time interviewing students, and students said, well, everybody is cheating, it's part of our culture. There are companies, they can write a thesis for some fee. We have some technology for cheating during exams and so on. So, yeah, teachers don't care because it would be complicated for them. Some processes, and nobody wants to follow these processes. So they simply don't care and pretend they don't see it. Of course, not every institutions are like that, but there are some institutions like that, and differences are even among departments or faculties in one institutions. Whereas we found many good examples of institutions who care, who have policies how to deal with who want to maintain the quality of higher education and want to address these issues within their institutions. So these were our research project, the impact of policies of higher education across Europe between 2010 and 2013, Southeast European project on policies of academic integrity last year, and this year we already organized 3 conferences, plagiarism across Europe and beyond, and now we are in 1/3 of our Erasmus Plus strategic partnership project. During these activities, we took inspiration from two international organizations. There is International Center for Academic Integrity, which is operating mainly in the United States and Canada. And even though it aims to be international, people or institutions from other continents are not joining it. Only 4 European institutions are members of ICAI. And during the talks to my colleagues, we found out that European institutions kind of resist to join American network because we in Europe are convinced that we can handle our issues better than Americans, so we can do it on our own way. There is also similar organization operating in Pacific and Australia, Asia Pacific Forum on Educational Integrity. There was no European Center, Forum, Network, nothing like that. So we decided to found European Network for Academic Integrity, which we did 4 months ago. So the purpose of European Network of Academic Integrity is to support higher education institutions to work together in the field of academic integrity. The first word is important, to support. We cannot force any institution to do anything they don't want to. Higher education institutions are independent. In some countries it is by law, but it's definitely good that they are independent. In some countries it's also common that even faculties are really independent, even legal bodies, so nobody can force them which policies they will use or how they will maintain their quality and address the academic integrity issues. But what we can do is support the institutions which are interested in improvements. We can support them by organizing events where the experience is shared. We can support them by providing some educational materials and providing some guidelines which are based on experience from other institutions who went through similar process in the past. So the objectives, according to our constitutions, are provide a platform for development and educational materials. So we are planning to provide many resources at our webpage, offer opportunities for researchers and collaborators research about academic integrity, present best practices, make available a central point for advice if some institutions are facing some problems and don't know how to address it. Our aim is to have a pool of experts which will be able to visit that institution, advise and help to solve that issues. And also organize conferences, workshops, seminars like this, joint staff training events, and other kinds of events to educate people and share experience. And the last but not least is to appreciate individual and institutional effort by offering awards, which then may be used for PR of the institutions and so on. So what we are doing right now we are developing educational materials. 2 days ago we spent half a day discussing about education, about videos, about academic integrity, about other materials for teachers, for students in higher education. So how to promote academic integrity, how to motivate students to study honestly, how to cite and reference properly, how to avoid plagiarism. We are also developing guidelines for higher education institutions which want to improve in terms of academic integrity. Now we are working on glossaries, trying to define the terms which are necessary, and then we will use this term in guidelines. We already have a web page ready to put the resources. The resources are now under construction, so you cannot unfortunately still download any resources from our webpage, but I hope and I believe that within 1 year there will be many resources ready to use, publicly available for all European institutions. We are circulating regular or almost regular newsletter, so those who are interested in what's happening, what's new, what is new in the field of academic integrity, plagiarism, cheating, prevention of cheating, so you can subscribe for that newsletter and you will be informed about the news. We are organizing annual conferences and training events and workshops. All these activities are for now financed by the European Union with the Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnership Project, where 12 partner institutions from 11 countries are together, and we have some budget, considerable amount of money, and we are obliged to produce 3 intellectual outputs. So we promised to provide educational material, toolkit for cross-sectoral cooperation, because our students are coming from high schools and we need them to already know what plagiarism is and some basic skills how to cite a reference, and we want secondary schools to teach this knowledge to students. And also our students are, after university, going to do business, they are going to be employed, and the ethical issues don't end with leaving the university. The ethical issues are still in almost any job, and so we want to make links between ethical issues in academia and ethical issues in the future jobs of our graduates. And we are working on guidelines called Handbook for Improvements in Academic Integrity for the purpose of the project. We already have a web page with easy to remember address, academicintegrity.eu. We are organizing annual conferences. We already organized conferences every other year, but from this year we decided to have it annually and to move around Europe. So we started in Czechia. Next year we have the conference in May in Turkey. The leaflets are behind you on the table, so please feel free to take the leaflets and share it with your colleagues. Next conference is going to be in Lithuania, and next, nobody knows. Our idea is to decide 2 years in advance where the next conference will take place. So in Turkey we are going to decide about the organizer of the 2020 conference and so on. So maybe we are meeting in Slovenia for the annual conference sometime. The training events are events where we are developing materials, organizing workshops, working in groups on particular issues. It's 1 week, this time is in September, which I think is a good idea. Next year it's going to be in Latvia, and for the next training events we are again going to decide in advance about the organizer. Maybe we will organize some events together with NRIO, the European Network of Research Integrity offices, like kind of summer schools. We are at the beginning of cooperation with these bodies. Okay, so nobody is interested in the legal aspects of the organization, the board and auditing group, and you can meet all of us here. Board members at the top and the auditing group at the bottom. All institutions are invited to become members, but only legal entities can become members. Individuals can become supporters. There are a number of benefits. You can get discounts on INAI events. You can organize the INAI events. When the rating system for universities will be ready, it will be available for the members. You will be getting regular newsletter, and in future it's possible that some resources will not be publicly available, but will be available only to member institutions only. But what is the most important benefit from my point of view is to be part of the collaborative network, to have the opportunity to learn from each other, share the experience, and be part of the projects we are going to organize. Yeah, there's some budget, €300 per institution per year, one-half discount for the first year. And that's basically it. So we have established already legal body, 9 member institutions. We have initial funding for our activities. We already have a web page. We are circulating newsletter. We have links to other organizations with similar purposes, and we have group of enthusiastic people who are willing to do the work, even though the budget is not as high as we would like to. Now our goal is to attract more members, to be more institutions to become members and work together with the Council of Europe recommendations for member states and start doing activities which we are not already doing. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your institutions becoming members of our network.
Okay, maybe it's time for 1 or 2 questions. No? Maybe. Oh, please, Dr. Wojciech from US.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation. I'm glad that you have established this network. Obviously, there is an empty landscape in Europe regarding terrorism. I was very much interested in the legal aspects. So you are the legal entity, and you have project funding for 3 years, it seems. What about the period after that? You should do you expect to get another project funding or increase the fees for members?
Well, we hope so. We hope to get other project funding. To be clear, NI as a legal entity is not part of that project because it was established after, so only the universities are part of the project. But our goal is to have a self-funded network. But as according to, it of course depends on the number of member institutions. But according to our preliminary calculations, this fee should be enough to ensure the running of network even without any external funding. The more external funding then we get, the more activities we will be able to provide. There are, of course, more opportunities how to earn money. For example, organizing the conferences is a good opportunity for that. But we hope that the topic of academic integrity is important topic for the society, and there will be still funding opportunities. But we don't want to be depending on that.
Any question? No, if not, then thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. And the last speaker, the last speaker before the coffee break will be Dr. Irene Glendening from the Coventry University from United Kingdom. Currently, she works as academic manager for student experience for the Faculty of Engineering and Computing in the Coventry University. And her recent research has focused to strategies for academic integrity, and she will represent today also some strategies how to improve, how to enhance academic integrity. Please.
Thank you. First of all, let me just say thank you very much for inviting us along to this event today. And it's an absolute delight to be in this wonderful country. It's so beautiful. It's the first time I've really spent any time here. And I will definitely come back. It's a really well-kept secret. You really need to tell people how wonderful it is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about integrity in education and research. I'm going to focus very much on institutional strategies, but I'm also going to talk about what governments and national organisations might do to help, and also a little bit about what individuals within institutions might do to help to implement the strategy. And certainly this will complement very much the implementation of kind of ethical codes and so on within institutions. I'm going to draw on some of the data that we've collected in early research. I thought I'd make it very specific to Slovenia, so I hope you'll be quite interested in some of the data. Where this data came from and what it means. So I'm going to start with this quote. The first quote is from Transparency International's executive summary on their corruption in education. So I think this is a really quite powerful quote. Corruption in education is particularly harmful in that it normalises and breeds the social acceptance of corruption at the earliest age. Now, I'm not saying that student cheating and unethical behaviour is necessarily corruption, but believe me, we have come across conduct in the course of the research, evidence of this kind of conduct, that you would classify as corruption. So I think that's a very, very powerful quote. And the point about this is that if we don't do anything about types of corruption, types of misconduct, if we don't try and encourage integrity within institutions, then we're setting our students off on the wrong track for their career. So it's really very important. The second statement I've said here is my own words. A robust, respected higher education sector is essential for national growth and development on the world stage, and I hope you will agree with me that that is actually very, very important. The purpose of our universities, the centrality of our universities to the growth of our and the well-being of our nations cannot be understated. So we need to make sure we have a good higher education sector and a respected one as well. If I go back to that the Transparency International work, I noted, I did a little bit of research before I came here, and I noted that Slovenia is actually rated quite highly, relatively speaking, on the Corruption Perception Index by Transparency International. On the 2006 index, which is the latest one available, you are 31st out of the total of 176 countries. And that reflects well, because that's actually higher than any of the former Yugoslavian countries, and much higher than a lot of the countries that you're neighbouring. I think the only country that exceeds you that is neighbouring you is Austria. So that actually shows that you're starting from a very strong point, that you actually have quite a lot of integrity. There may be corruption in your country, but you have a lot of integrity and you have a lot of potential for growth and development. One of the things that came out of our research, and I'll show a little bit about where this came from, and certainly some of the evidence that's already been presented this morning, suggests that you're perhaps not starting early enough with the students. That really the kinds of tools that you have, and the work that you're doing in preventing and detecting and encouraging students not to cheat seems to be focused very much on the dissertation at the end of the study, rather than the work right throughout the study. And I would suggest that students need to be prepared much earlier for that, and even going back into secondary level as well. So perhaps it's the kind of level at which the activities are taking place that needs some attention. In Slovenia in particular, but Slovenia isn't the only country that suffers from that problem. So this is this chart shows 33 countries. So this is the data that we collected from, or it's a compilation of the data that we collected from the two research projects that Thomas talked about earlier on. From the IFI project that finished in 2013, looked at the then 27 European Union countries. It didn't include Croatia in that survey, as it only just joined at the end of the project. And then the CPE project, which was Council of Europe funded, that we did in the last year, looked at 6 more countries, and those were the South-Eastern European countries, the former Yugoslavian countries. So of those countries, I can just show you, Slovenia is here. So it's actually 11th in this table. When we added the 6 countries, 6 new countries, it still stayed 11 because the rating for those other countries was lower. So that again has quite a positive message for you, that you have attributes that are quite good regarding education. Let me explain a little bit about what this chart is about. This is called the Academic Integrity and Maturity Model, and it was used to take the data from the survey that we conducted to provide a comparison between the different countries. And we used data from students, from academic teachers, from the management within higher education institutions, and also from some interviews at national level. So we used a comprehensive range of data, and it was based on over 5,000 responses, which isn't a huge number, and some of the data is quite limited because of the number of responses we got. But nevertheless, we were able to provide some kind of rating for every country based on the data. Now this is the profile for Slovenia, and the categories that we rated the different countries on, there were 9 of them. So we were looking at transparency, we were looking at the quality of policies, we were looking at whether there were consistent sanctions, whether if a student was penalised for misconduct, whether the penalties were consistent across the institution. We were looking at use of software, intelligent use of software, not just whether there was software there, but how it was being used. We were looking at prevention measures, so ways that actually try to encourage students not to cheat, rather than ways of actually catching students and penalising them. We were looking at the communications and how the policies and the skills for academic writing, for example, and the skills for study are communicated to students within the institution, but also to academic staff as well. And we were looking at knowledge, so we were looking at evidence that people understood what the issues were. We were looking at whether or not there was training for students and staff in the relevant issues, and finally whether there was any research, interest in research into this field, not just in research itself, but into academic integrity. The focus of this project initially was plagiarism, because we saw plagiarism as the issue way back when we designed the project in 2009. But actually things have moved on since then, and we're now starting to talk about academic integrity, and we see the term academic integrity as a much more positive spin. So rather than talking about cheating and so on, we are talking about the positive side of education and scholarship and so on. So you see the profile that came out for Slovenia wasn't particularly strong, but I can assure you there were some very much weaker ones. And the overall score that Slovenia got was 14.53 out of the maximum 36, ranking 11th, as I said before. It retained that 11th ranking when we added the 6 countries there. But we only had responses from 38 students, which is not very much at all, and 2 academics and 2 interviews. So it was a very small amount of data that was based on. And I think if we ran that survey again, I think Slovenia would come out a lot better, because I think we've actually improved and moved forward within the intervening years since we did that survey. So I strongly suggest that would be better for you. But it provides us a basis and a starting point. So what we recommended for Slovenia at that point, when we wrote the report at the end in 2013, my colleague Angelika is here, and she actually authored the report. So I've quoted some of her words here. One of the strengths that we saw and the opportunities that we saw was this institutional system, which was in its infancy at the time that we did the survey, but we saw the potential for that. And I would strongly recommend that the software that you have is used more widely in education, not used just for final theses. I know it will require a significant investment to do that, but I strongly recommend that the earlier you start with students in encouraging them to, in detecting that they're getting it wrong and putting them on the right track, not necessarily just penalising them, but educating them, the more likely they are to get to that state of scholarship by the time they do their final thesis. The weaknesses that we saw were low transparency, so there was lack of kind of sharing of information, lack of knowledge across the institutions, lack of oversight for assessment practices. We found that some institutions within Slovenia wouldn't take part in the survey explicitly because they didn't have any policies. So I hope that there are now some policies in place and that those policies are beginning to strengthen. But there was clear evidence that there was lack of policies.
May I interrupt? This has been in 2013.
That's right.
Yes, now it's better.
Absolutely. So this is based on our data. I'm aware of that, and I'm making allowances for this. But one of the other issues is the last point here, is there was inability of quite a lot of the students and some of the teachers that answered the survey to really identify clear cases of plagiarism and understand that would be problematic. So clearly there's an education issue there involved. So let's just sort of kind of move ahead. I haven't got very long, so I need to move quite fast. So developing so the institutional strategies are beginning to develop, but we heard yesterday within the institution really yesterday that although there are policies in place and there are strategies in place, they're not necessarily being implemented fully. And that was just within one institution. And so for Slovenia in general, I think it's quite important that all institutions actually look at their institutional policies and see whether or not they're adequate. And believe me, I've looked at policies throughout the world, and there are very few countries where I would say the policies are really, really good. Even the UK, generally the policies are better than many countries, but that there is a lot of room for improvement. Also in my own institution, we're constantly working on it. So there's much more that could be done. But investing in policies does cost money, it does cost effort, it does cost time. And so why would you want to make that investment? How do you go about implementing it and making it work within your institution? How do you bring people, hearts and minds, how do you bring people on board and make people buy into your policies? It's not an easy thing to do, because I know I've done it in my own institution. And it took a lot of effort, and we're still working with some colleagues who are ignoring the policies and are not pulling their weight, and they're not following the rules. And that is difficult, because it's the front line for action is with academic staff and professors. And if they ignore the policies and they ignore the cases of cheating that they see, then the policies don't work. So it is a big process of managing change, and it's a long process as well from a low starting point. So one of the things that I'm doing in my own research, independently of the other projects, is I've been working with the International Centre for Academic Integrity, with colleagues from there, to develop the academic integrity maturity model that I showed you the diagram of before, because that was built retrospectively from the survey data. So we started with a blank sheet, and we've actually created a new tool. And the new tool is called Scorecard for Academic Integrity Development. Now this tool provides a set of 8 characteristics that comprise some benchmarks for what good policies should look like. It's currently in the stage of just going into some pilots. So it's being peer reviewed by people from a few different countries. But if anyone here would like to have a look at this and do a critique of it, I'd be very, very happy for people to look at it and give me that feedback. So if I can just take you through these very, very quickly. So it's starting from the high level and it's kind of working downwards to some extent. So the first one is institutional governance. Because if you're going to implement strong, robust policies for whatever you want, you've got to have backing from the top. So the governance and the strategic commitment from the higher management within the institution is very, very important. And in this case, we're actually saying it's for academic integrity. The second one is about the policies themselves. They need to be clear, they need to be consistently applied, but they need to be fair and proportional. They need to be applied across the whole institution, so that if a student in one part of the institution commits some kind of offence, they'll get the same penalty, the same process that they have to follow, as if they did it in a different faculty. The sanctions should be standard, so that for different kinds of offences, different kinds of breaches of violations of the integrity, that the sanctions should be same or similar within a spectrum. So that's the second one. The third one is about engagement. So that it's institution-wide. And by institution-wide, I mean the students, the teachers, the management, the researchers, everybody, the administrators, everybody within the institution needs to buy into these and understand what they are. And they need to be accessible, they need to be clearly stated in clear language. The fourth one is a difficult one, because it's so ephemeral. Institutional values, ethics, absolutely. But it can be done in things like mission statements, where the institution states a clear commitment to ethical values, to integrity and so on. So there are ways that can be done, but it needs to come from the top. The fifth one I think is really very, very important, and it tends to be forgotten, and it wasn't part of the aim. We didn't think about this one when we were looking at the original one. Bring your students with you. The honest students are as keen as you are about getting rid of student cheating. It's in their interest to make sure that their qualifications are valuable and are valued and are representative of student learning. So bring the student body with you. Allow the students to have some leadership in the roles, to do with policies, to do with the way they're implemented, to do with the way students are taught about these issues. Number 6 is very, very important in any kind of integrity, transparency. So things have to be clear, things have to be put in wording but also accessible to everybody that needs to know about them. 7 is about evaluation. So once you've developed your policies, they're not going to stay the same, they're going to change all the time. It's costly, it's expensive in terms of time and effort. But once you start to implement policies, you will realise there are things missing, there are things that don't work, so you will constantly have to move on. And the 8th one is about, if you like, research development and outward looking. So 7 is inward looking, 8 is outward looking. It's about looking at what's going on in the rest of the world, engaging with organisations like NI, for example, is a good way of satisfying 8. So I've got a lot more information on that which I haven't got time to share with you now, but that just gives you a flavour of the kind of thing we're doing. And there is a tool which assesses an institution against these values and against these characteristics. This is the thing that's in piloting at the moment. So, how am I going for time? 5 minutes, okay. I'm going to very quickly go through some priorities and some recommendations then at the end. It's important that we look internationally because it's an international problem. This is not about Slovenia, it's about the whole world. So cheating is a global phenomenon, particularly when you look at things like contract cheating. These things are international. They don't belong in just one country. So there needs to be an international response, and there are some issues there. You can have a copy of these slides so you can have a look at these in detail. I won't go through this. I think the most important ones are the national and the institutional. So the Slovenian national ones are what I'm doing a little bit of research at the moment for an American organisation called CHEER. I'm going to be looking at quality assurance agencies and accreditation agencies in different countries throughout the world. And I'm going to be looking at what those agencies are doing to help institutions improve their policies. So that's my first recommendation, is that national government, accreditation agencies, quality bodies within the country should be supporting institutions to help develop policies. Development of materials, this was recommended in Angelika's report. Some investment in translation from English in other languages would help to boost the number of resources available. And I already mentioned software tools. I think you can do much more with your tools. You've got a really nice tool that you're using. Take advantage of that more. Encourage research and development. And if possible, start before university in terms of working with students and working with pupils to get them to understand ethical values and also how you begin to write and use intellectual property in a sustainable way. I'm going to have to go through this very quickly because I'm now running out of time. So this is priorities for institutions, and it largely echoes those 8 points that I came out with from the scorecard. So an overarching strategy. I'm just going to read out the red parts here. The strategy should be supported and reinforced by the whole community. A range of transparent, accessible workable policies, procedures, actions, so on. Applied in a fair and proportionate way. We don't want. You have to think about what the sanctions are for, and what the assessment is for. You're not there just to punish the students. You're there to educate them, and that's really what we want to achieve. And I think I would like to see in Slovenia more evidence of training of academic staff. And I know I asked the question yesterday, apparently it's not very common for academic staff to have training. It's lovely that we've got some staff here today, and perhaps you should do more in that respect, but also to encourage research and development. There are some recommendations for action here, and they're largely echoing the other things I've said there. If anybody wants to know more about the tools, they will be accessible through the NI project. But if you want to know more about them during the pilot phase, very happy to give individuals more information. But all of this requires quite a lot of money. I'm going to end there and say if anybody wants to contact me, I'm very happy to be contacting you and discuss any of this in more detail if you have interest. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. It was very good, let's say, ideas for follow-up, maybe some issues and some dilemmas. So if there are any questions, I'm sure that there are certain questions. Yeah, please, what's up?
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. The graph that you have showed about the 33 countries,
Yes.
I was surprised that Germany and France have the positions quite in the back. It's something like 25th and 29th.
So were we. But I have to say that certainly we were very, very surprised at the lack of integrity that we discovered in France in particular. Germany, and we have a German partner here, we will accept from this, Oliver. So not all institutions in Germany are bad, but we came across some institutions that really didn't have much of a clue. And in terms of, they weren't doing a lot in terms of integrity. And certainly they weren't using software to any great extent. And the students were refusing to submit things through software because of intellectual property of their work. Apparently it belongs to the student, therefore they didn't want to. There are issues there to do with that, and I'm sure Goa will have things to say about that. So there are issues to do with Germany. So we were surprised. We were also surprised about Finland, actually. And there were some other countries where we were expecting much, much more mature responses than we got. Yeah, so we were surprised. But it isn't a mistake. That's what we found.
Any questions, please?
Thank you, Irene, for the presentation. It was very interesting, as always. I would like to ask you to discuss a bit further the point that you have made about students' leadership, because for me it is something that has not been discussed extensively up until now, And I would like to bring forward our own experience with the behavior of the students in our e-learning courses, where we see that students that emerge as leaders in these courses not only boost their own performance, but also contribute to the overall satisfaction rate for the course. So I think the two phenomena are not unrelated. There is some ground there.
If I can say, in Scotland in particular, and also in some of the United States that have these honour codes, some of the panels for against student violations, as they call them, breaches or cheating, are run by students. Okay? They're actually led by students. In some cases, they are led by academics or management, and there are student members on panels. So there are some examples of where students are not just involved in knowing about the process, but they're actually actively involved in the process itself and in implementing the policies. And in my own institutions, we're working very closely with our students' union, who are working as leaders for their peers to try and encourage students and get the message over to students in a way, in a student-friendly way, in a way that comes over differently from an academic standing up and telling them what the rules are. So I think it's a very powerful way to work with students to try and get the message over to students. The other thing we're doing within my institution is we are changing our whistleblowing policy to make it easier and anonymous to whistleblow. So we have to identify who the whistleblower is. Can't accept an anonymous accusation, but the identity of the whistleblower will not be revealed to the person they're accusing. So we're just doing that now because we get a lot of students say, I know this is going on, how do I report it? But it's my friend and therefore I don't want them to know I'm the person that's reporting. So that's one way that we're doing it. So there are a variety of different ways. The other thing that we're doing, and I think I have a slide here which I can show you. I'll just show you at the end. No, I didn't. It's not on there. We're running. I'm with the International Centre for Academic Integrity. We're running the International Day of Action on the 18th of October on contract cheating, and that will be student-led. So that is students who are posting messages onto Twitter, Facebook, using a couple of hashtags designated for the purpose, about why they think contract cheating is wrong and why integrity is right. And so that's, hopefully we'll get a Twitter trend going that day with lots of posts throughout the world, starting in New Zealand in the morning, and then finishing in Hawaii at the end of the 24 hours. So that's another way. So there are lots of examples like that. So we're getting students to lead events and lead initiatives to try and work with students and encourage scholarship, encourage ethical behaviour, and discourage cheating. Thank you very much. I think we're all ready for a break now. I am.
Okay, if you agree,
want my breakfast.
But I'm sure that if you have any additional questions,
we'll be around.
Will be there, so. Okay, we have certain delay, so we will start 10 to 12 of next session. predlagam, da začnemo naslednjo. Se pravi, predlagam, začnemo. Naslednja prezentacija je prezentacija profesor Lorete Tongiene. So the next presentation is the presentation of Professor Loreta Tongiene. Professor Tongiene coming from Mikulaš Romeris University, Lithuania, and she works there as an associate professor. And it's a very interesting subject she covers, and she will present today. And this is the, let's say, a link between research policies and academic integrity. So please, this is yours.
Okay, so I'm going to run through my presentation, which would be quite short, but I try to make it quite concisely and still quite clear. So I will start just by explaining what ethics infrastructure is, what kind of needs it encompasses, and is it important in academia at all. So in general, there are two approaches how ethics infrastructure can be understood. One of them is called compliance approach. I'm not going to read what is written in the slide because you can do that so. But very shortly to explain, it's actually obeying rules and authority. So that is the priority we're given in this approach when you're applying that. The second one approach is values-led approach. There is a difference. And the main difference is here that we cannot create rules for everything. So naturally we should find something else that could serve for basis for our decisions and considerations. And naturally here we need some institutional, not only individual values established or embedded to the university. So even these two approaches have a bit of difference. The first one, compliance approach, refers to rather rules and authority. The second one rather to values. But all those together, they're alias. So this is, I do not want to say that we should decide which one is better. Okay? So just a very small example of how to understand it better. What, for example, ethics infrastructure your institution has. Okay, this was a case that I took from one of the research paper, and you'll find the references at the end. So what it gives an example. So 12 years ago, more than 70 applicants that submitted their application to MBA business programs went to the web browser and typed in a stolen passcode in an attempt to determine whether they had been accepted to the program of their choice prior to official notification from the school. So it's kind of try to get enrolled. So what has happened in different universities, and this is based from US. So Harvard University, it rejected all of the applicants, and they had violated university ethical norms. That was the explanation of the decision. Stanford University requested explanations from transgressors regarding the motivating factors why they did it so. And Dartmouth, they accepted all the candidates. They didn't see any problem with this. So my question to the audience, how do you think which of the approach I just mentioned, which means value-based or compliance-based, was inherent to each of these universities? For example, Harvard University. What do you think?
Correct. Because ethical value is over the rule. It's more objective as a rule. You can rule when you are in a position change. The rule is flexible, and ethical value is not. It's over the subject's authority. So I had to obey the value, and when a rule is not good, I'm not obliged to obey it.
Not necessarily the interpretation is as you just provided. Actually, with the values or ethical norms, let's say, they are above rules, but it doesn't mean that you should not obey the rules.
When the rules
but
are...
not in all cases you have a rule for each case.
Yes.
So then you have to make a decision. Okay? Angelika, you wanted to question?
First, I would like to point out that the free business schools have very different orientations and value systems. And in retrospective, one can understand why Harvard took that decision and Dartmouth got a decision quite contrary to the first one. I have a question. I have to ask a question. The codes that were stolen from someone, presumably.
You mean the code they type in?
Yes. So
I'm not sure because that was not clear described whether this solo they created. You know, this was previously was given in a situation with students' innovations.
To be honest, in my view, I would go, I mean, if I am an MBA director, if this incident happened to my program, I would follow the Stanford approach, because I think it is always more safe to examine the conditions and understand the problem at hand deeper than what initially appears. It is often the case in businesses that there are some hidden information here and there that could lead elsewhere.
Yeah, I would say, but if you change slightly the situation that was presented, if this is the applicants to IT programs, if it would be applicants to IT program, not business program.
No, I'm saying that is.
Will it change your attitude toward these students?
I see the point that obviously those who have managed to do it have higher competencies than others.
Okay, so what I wanted just to show you, there's probably, let's assume that Harvard ethics infrastructure actually was kind of values-based approach. Now Stanford, it might be so values-based approach, but for Dartmouth, I would say there was none of them. Just there was no, not fully understanding, but some consistency what should be done in the case as such. Okay, means of ethics infrastructure, they are very diverse. Okay, and this is not the exhaustive list. You can find even more of them. If you would ask me whether we need all of them in one university, no. So each university can decide which of these means this university can combine. So some of them are less costly, some of them are very expensive, so it's up to each university. Diverse procedures, that was mentioning from Irene's presentation about strategies, about policies. So this all is in, but code ethics plays a bit different role, and it is presented usually as a separate theme. So as diverse procedures, I would provide example, for example, ethical approval, some enrollment rules, and so on. So it's a bit structuring by each area that happens in the university. Okay, here is another example from Lithuania, my country. What kind of, let's say, national ethics infrastructure we have for research misconduct. Here I just presented very shortly because it was really quite hard for me to make it in one slide. But this is only institutions that monitor, analyze, and even penalize in case of research misconduct. Here we have two governmental institutions, this Ministry of Health and Research Council of Lithuania. There are two institutions that are acting under Parliament. This is Ombudsman for Academic Ethics and Procedures and Equal Opportunities Ombudsman. So in each country, if you start mapping from this, you probably will find something in your country as well. And they have some recommendations, some rules, some guidelines, some laws, so definitely this is a part of all ethics infrastructure. Another example, probably you would know, and Thomas was mentioning in his presentation about the Bologna process, how it can affect some changes in our universities. So I'll take an example from European Standard Guidelines that probably you know that they are most updated today. And just look at this, what is advised to us to do. So their standard. Institutions should have a policy for quality assurance. And there is a guideline, one of this, so academic integrity and freedom, and is vigilant against academic fraud. So we see here a first mention that universities should start establishing ethics infrastructure, just, let's say, in a more narrow area, mentioning only academic fraud, but that depends also how we understand what the fraud is. Another, what I want to say is bringing some scientific evidence why it is important to pay more attention to this. So there was some research findings published in the paper 2 years ago, and there were some few conclusions that others come to. So the first one is saying that having a national research and conduct policy positively associated with research and development funding, ranking, and intensiveness, which is clearly shows that having ethics infrastructure and working on specific areas, it gives an image for institution. And not only this. Then lack of agreement on the definition of misconduct hampers promoting integrity international research. This is also the situation when we meet some colleagues from other countries and we see that understanding the things is not so easy. I have my personal experience with in collaboration with neighborhood, so colleagues from Ukraine. And it's really hard to make collaboration with them because you never know whether they are not plagiarizing even the manuscript they are going to work with you. So this is really different because for us in my country, in some others, and I find this in Slovakia as well, the word compilation has a negative connotation. It means just take one piece from one published paper, another piece from another paper, it means from your own papers, and you make one more new paper. So this is not the way it should work. But for Ukrainians and some Lithuanians, it works perfectly because they don't understand how it might be different and what physics can bring. So this is just evidence from some research and my personal experience. The next standard, institutions should assure themselves of the competence of the teaching, and here I would say some missing point from the standards and guidelines. Here we then speak no more about the training or other mean of ethics infrastructure that could be envisaged as compulsory component. Is, for example, on integrity in teaching materials, cultural differences, handling academic work, and so on. Because usually in everyday life, professors, they face with these issues and they don't know how to make it better. So, generally what's said, I made the citation, the problem is, I don't remember who said that. That sometimes also happens. So, that was said about the academia that mostly teach that teachers should teach by habit, example, and exhortation. And actually, there is no emphasis in these guidelines as a continuity of the need to establish ethics infrastructure consistently through all university functioning. The last example, I guess so, is another standard that says institutions should monitor and periodically review their programs. That's clear. Yeah, we do that so. But there is no component that considers evaluation of ethical behavior of teachers, students, and administration. So again, there is just something that doesn't go further. Overall, the emphasis I want to bring with this example from the European standards and guidelines that malpractices always have some victims, and not necessarily this one that we used to speak most about the students. So there's also other academia members. And making a conclusion, this is a slide that you shouldn't take seriously. So there was usually, when you speak with people from academia, it doesn't matter, teacher, administration, or students, oh, we can fix it on our own. So I would say this is a fantasy base, because we really need some knowledge, need some training, and it should not be just maybe one day or 1 year, it should be annually and constantly. Another one option that was found is idealistic, that inhabitants from the Mars planet will come and take this instead of us. So it doesn't happen, nothing without us. So references, if you need just to look for some more information regarding this, and thank you.
So, we have time for 1, 2 short questions. Any? Okay, maybe till the end, maybe there's some ideas and questions and dilemmas will appear. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you very much for a nice and great presentation. And the next speech will be by Dr. Shiva. Now, I'm sorry, I try to do the best. Shiva Subramaniam. Great. But I have to say, Dr. Shiva is a group leader for pharmacology at the Nottingham Trent University, and she's very active in European network of academic integrity and work a lot on theoretical approach and also some practical experience on plagiarism. So please, it's your desk.
I would like to stand because this is going to be a workshop. So you are going to talk, I'm not going to talk. So most of the time we will be talking and then I will get the clap. So that's the way I work normally. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just highlight the problems between the ethics or bioethics in my turn and the moral ethics, and then I ask you to decide the things where we are going to be. So, first of all, the objective of the session, just to discuss the key ethical issues in relation to the medical practice. So, what are the problems we are having in the medical practice? And also, try to recognize the moral dilemmas. They are not always linked with the ethics. The ethics is somewhere else and the moral dilemma is somewhere else. And most of us, we more or less confuse the ethics with morals and ethics with morals. So that's the way we are going to do now. So as far as I am concerned, it might be wrong, but as far as I am concerned, ethics is more or less the balance between the right and the wrong. But for the moral is the balance between good and the bad. So I always show this to my students. This is the ethics, the conflict between the ethics and the moral dilemma. So this person has died because he is waiting for the embryonic stem cells to be treated. He waited, the ethics has not been cleared, so he couldn't be treated, he died and he went to heaven. And then there's a little child there, it's next to him in the heaven, and the child was the embryo that was more or less destroyed to produce the stem cells for him. Both are dead now. So the problem is the conflict between the ethics and the morals. And before I start, I just wanted to ask you, most of you have done the questionnaire, the 6 questions from Professor Hoffman, I think, in the morning. How many of you got all of them correct? Probably everybody, I think. I purposely got it 2 wrong. The first one was wrong, and the last one was wrong. Why? Because ethically, I should have got all of them correct, but morally, my morals didn't allow me to do the first one correctly, and didn't allow me to do the last one correctly. The first one was about, if you have a flu, I will stay at home, but I will work. That is my moral, and when I asked to others, most of them said yes, they will do so as well. So how come you got it right? And the last one, probably, please forgive me, that is my morals. If anybody who's traveling with me, who's driving and is playing with the phone, I will grab the phone and throw it away. That is my morals. So can you see the conflicts between the morals and the ethics? I mean, I can claim, I'm an academic, I want to be a bioethically or ethically correct person. I can claim it everything right because I know the right answer. But I don't want to do it because that is where my morals comes in.
But
yes?
Can I say, your second and the 5-point answer isn't wrong. You should, in the first place, say you shouldn't do this. But in the second place, when you are not here, then you grab and show it away.
Yeah,
this is the second.
But the problem is, I live in a problem. You also say same. I live in a country that it is lawfully, it's unlawful to have a phone in your hand. So if he should know, or he or she should know. So I thought, and then again I got a very short patience span. So I do that. Right? So we'll move away. So as far as the bioethic is concerned, I'm talking specifically about bioethics because I'm from a medical field. So I thought that there will be some medical staff here as well, so I can highlight a slightly different slant. So the bioethics or ethics in research is actually covers the professional practice and the data gathering practice. So you got to report whatever you have seen, not whatever you wanted to show. So sometimes you do a research and then you are in the belief that this is the result should be, but you will get a completely opposite results. You've got to show that. And then you've got to give the credits to the people who have contributed that. And then you try to avoid plagiarism. And you all know that we've been talking from the morning. As far as data gathering is concerned, you've got to make sure that whoever, the patients or the subjects, or, I'm a placentologist, I collect placenta, human placenta. Placenta nobody wants after the baby is born, is normally thrown away. But I need to do an ethical approval for that, which will take more or less 2 years to get it approved in my country. But I got to go through that because it's a human tissue. And you've got to get an informed consent from the patient, whether it's a mother or whether it's a person who's donating something. That will take some time. And also, no harm should be done purposely to the subjects. And then you've got to maintain the privacy, anonymity, confidentiality. But these ethics sometimes conflict with the values because there are some morals as well. The moral is actually underpinning the ethics, but not always. That is my point. Because as far as I am concerned, the morals is self, is mine. So it is more or less related to my religion and also the way I've been brought up. But the ethics is not, it is by the law. It's a people or a community enforcing this is the right way to do it. So this is what I've been more or less searching about the difference between ethics and morals. I don't know, there are some Greek here. So the ethics come from a word from Greek, it's called ethos, is that right? So that means character. On the other hand, morals come from a word, Latin, mos means customs.
But Cicero, he translated ethos with morals.
Yeah, so that's a different story, and that's what I'm going to highlight in a minute. Right. The ethics is external, it's actually imposed by the society or a government or any governing body. But the morals is within. We have, each one of us have got our own morals. And ethics is usually linked by an act of law, and the moral is usually linked with a culture or religion or from where they are coming from. I'm just saying usually linked. And so the conflict is I'm going to give some example of conflict. Freedom of speech versus religious criticism. Freedom of speech means I can speak whatever I want. In UK you can talk about religion. In a way, you can be criticizing. But if I do that in a Middle Eastern countries, I will be gone. Right? Because that their ethics based on their morals.
Yes.
Okay? So the other problem is vaccine production against animal cruelty. So vaccine production is important to save several people, but the other side of it, the animal cruelty people, they will say, oh, you are killing the animals, so on and so forth. So that is another conflict. The third one is, again, polygamy versus cultural beliefs. I mean, polygamy is banned here, but in some countries that is not banned. So there is a conflict between the morals and the cultural, the ethics. That's what I'm trying to highlight it. And then still there is no, I'm not going to give you an answer for that. I'm just going to give you the question that when you do your research or do your studies, you've got to think about in your studies where you are doing, whether you are doing the ethical way or the moral way. If you ask me, we got to stick on to the ethics, not with the morals. Right. So this is where you are going to talk with me. We have done this yesterday as well. So I'm going to present two different scenarios here. Again, unfortunately, from a medical background, but anybody with a common sense, you can argue for or against Natalie Evans. So let me explain about Natalie Evans. In 2001, Natalie Evans has been diagnosed as having from ovarian cancer. It's a really nasty disease, and that means you got to go through the chemotherapy. And as you all know, if you go to the chemotherapy, the chances of the overproduction will be stopped. So she decided with her husband, right, I'm going to go into chemotherapy, I'm not going to have any children. So before the chemotherapy, I harvest some ova, and then by in vitro fertilization, they have fertilized 6 ova, and the fertilized ova has been frozen so that when Natalie finishes her cancer treatment, she can come back and then implant the ova into the womb, and then she can have a baby. So everything went well, but unfortunately the only thing that didn't go well is the marriage. They broke up. So the husband was separated, and husband got married, but Natalie didn't. So now Natalie wanted to have a baby. So she already got the frozen egg, so she wanted to implant it, and she got a court injunction from the husband that I am withdrawing my consent to Natalie to have a baby. And probably those of you from UK, you know the answer, and the others probably would have read the answer. The answer was the judge decided to destroy all 6 embryos. So my question is, you got to take ethics as well as morals in your mind. I wanted you to argue whether the judge's decision was correct, morally correct, and also ethically correct. I mean, to be honest, as a scientist, I would say I would support the judge's decision because everybody had the right to remove their consent. But as a human being, if I see Natalie's husband, I will slap him. I will definitely slap him. That is my moral. Because that is the only chance Natalie is going to have a biologically own baby. She can adapt a baby, she can have another embryo, fertilized embryo implant, but her own blood, or something to say, her own blood, that is the only chance. Those 6 embryos are the only chance. But her husband has destroyed that. Right, let me come back to the husband's side. Husband had married and he got his own children. His argument was, I got my children, I am dedicated to my current wife, I don't want another child calling me a father. Can you see the husband's dilemma? So you want to talk, sorry.
I think the chances of having children were destroyed by the cancer, not by the husband.
Pardon?
I think the chances of having children were destroyed by the cancer.
Yes. It started a long time ago, but if they had lived together, then the problem would have solved, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
But I agree with the judge.
Yeah. So this is the problem. That morally, I mean, to be honest, this is the last chance for her. Morally is not correct, but ethically, he has, or even she has, the right to withdraw his consent. That's one of the problems. So the second one is about, very recently happened, is about Charlie Good. It was on the papers and everywhere. Probably you would have read it, that the boy, Charlie, was born with the mitochondrial disease or DNA depletion syndrome. That means his brain has damaged even before it developed. So he's fully damaged, not in partly damaged or whatever, fully damaged. And then there is a history of battle between the Great Ormond Street Hospital and the parents. The parents found out by media and by communication, found out that there is a university hospital in USA. They are trying to develop a new kind of treatment against this disease with about 60 to 85% success, but not with the Charlie's condition, because Charlie's condition is very, very advanced. So whatever they have 65 to 85% success is a slightly different condition. At the early stage, if you detect at early stage, it has got 65 to 85% chances of treating. But Charlie was diagnosed very late, and so the parents believed that by going to America and then giving this treatment, the baby can survive and then live normally. But the Great Ormond Street the physicians and specialists, they believe that even after the experimental approach, the approach might treat the baby, but the brain damage is permanent. So that baby is not going to have a normal living life. And then in the end, they went up to the Supreme Court, and they even tried the European Court, but the European Court said that we are not going to intervene, maybe because of Brexit, I don't know, but it's not maybe because of the Brexit, because it's a complicated thing, and then they don't want to intervene with that. But so my question is that who is right here? Again, most of you have children. Think about, as your parent, you are a parent, and answer this question.
Nobody is right. Why? The question bases on technical development.
Exactly.
And the technical development gives a false hope. They think that they could, with a technical approach or procedure, save a life. But is our life only a technical life?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in a normal case, such children will die, and this child died. But through this technical development, one of professors from Basel University said, technical can cause problems. Humanities are solving them because they are seeing the bright picture. The technicals made a very, very small view or small part of life. And this is our sin in our thinking. That we are saying, yeah, technical development will save our world. No, the technical development will destroy our world. Think about Japan with their atomical.
That's a slightly different story. But what I'm trying to say is, if I am a parent, if I was dad to that child, I would take the same decision. I would go to the court and fight until whatever the decision we get. Because that is what parents, that is our morals. This is my child. But the ethical wise, what they looked at it, the court looked at it, only one thing. Whether that baby can lead a normal life without anybody's help, the chances are nil. Then they decide the respiratory support should be withdrawn. So, on the ethical point of view, that what Court did was entirely correct.
Yes.
But in the morally, I mean, we are in two minds because we are connected with love and other things. But ethics should be about those kind of human things. Right. So I'm going to almost stop there. So I just wanted to highlight the problems, the conflict between the ethics and the morals, and then there are conflicts between ethics and the moral in the case of abortion or euthanasia, suicide. Do not resuscitate. Who is going to decide? Do not resuscitate. I was on that area for 1 or 2 years ago. My mom was diagnosed. I mean, she was so ill. She wanted to die. She's bleeding, and then the doctors called me. You got to decide whether, when she goes down, whether to resuscitate or not. I took, as a scientist, it took about half a day for me to decide. In the end, I decided, but it's very, very difficult question because it's my mom. I'm a scientist, but it's my mom. One more day she lives with me is better for me. But in the end, I decided, yes, that is good for her, not good for me. And then, like determination of the dead, cloning, that's another area. Human experimentation, birth control, in vitro fertilization, stem cells or homosexuality, that's another area we haven't explored or we don't want to explore, especially we are academics, so we don't want to go into that. But I think in my university, the problem of homosexuality is coming up. We need to intervene and help the students neutrally. So I'm just highlighting that when these problem comes, you stick with the ethics or bioethics, not with your morals. With that, I'll stop. Oh, yeah, if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Absolutely very interesting. And yeah, questions, please. Some questions and some ads were done during the presentation. But yeah, if there are some other additional questions, or even after. Okay. Okay then. Thank you very much once again, and go further to the next presentation. From my point of view, very interesting. Ms. Veronica Kralikova, is this correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you very much. She's a PhD student from the Faculty of Business and Economics at the Mediji University in Brno, and she will represent one very, very, let's say, huge problem. Here in Slovenia, I don't know how it's in Czech Republic, but here in Slovenia, we are faced even with some, let's say, semi-commercial organizations or agencies, or let's say, informal group of people who supports students with illegal, supporting them with illegal work on thesis, on dissertations, etc. So you make some research on this, and please, if you introduce us. Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. As it was said, my name is Veronika Kralikova. I came from Brno, from Czech Republic, and I'm here to tell you something about the contract cheating. Here is the outline of my presentation. I don't know if everybody knows what is contract cheating. So first of all, I will talk shortly about what does it mean, because I think it's important to tell something about the contract cheating because before we will talk about how we can deal with it. So, what is a cheating? I think each of us surely ever cheated, and if anyone said no, he would lie. So already at school, everyone has ever seen what a classmate is writing or copying somebody's homework. So at the university, the main problems are like using unauthorized aids or file sharing, copying, but not every subject is ended by a test where it's pretty easy to cheat. Some subjects are ended by writing some essay or some other text. And if students want to get a degree in Czech Republic or in other countries, he or she must write a thesis. So there are two problems with writing the text or to writing some thesis. There is a plagiarism and there is a contract cheating. I think we heard a lot about plagiarism, not only today, but I think a much bigger issue is the contract cheating, because this is a situation when students leave someone else to write his papers, and maybe it could be company or another student or friend, and he could get paid for it or something like that. So he will make something original, and it's a really big issue, as I think. So why they are using contract cheating, students? They are using it because it's cheap. It saves them a lot of time, and they can be at a different place. They can have a fun with friends, or they can go to a job. It's really easy to find some company or to find somebody who will write an essay instead of you. It's really quick. It could be done by 1 day or 2 days if you want, if you will pay for it. Then it could be anonymous if you want to be. It's really hard to detect, and it's almost impossible to prove that it is a case of contract cheating. So what are the problems? As I said, the problem is how we can prove that the students use somebody to write an essay. Next problem is that it is a fraud, but in Czech Republic and many countries it is not illegal. Of course, it's unethical, and the service is really easily accessible. If you will search the internet or the Google, it will take you a few seconds to find some company who will be able to write an essay instead of you. And what is really dangerous is advertising, because when foreign students come to your country, there are some companies who are writing emails to them with the logo of the university. So students could think that this is service from the university, they want to help, but it wasn't like that, and they were using the service and they didn't know that it's wrong. So now I would like to talk about my diploma thesis. It was mostly about the contract cheating in Czech Republic, and I wanted to create an image of the market of fraudulent work in Czech Republic. So I was working not only with students, but I wanted to know how the companies who are offering the service to write an essay or the final work, how they are working. So there are more than 100 companies in Czech Republic offering writing an essay or seminar or final work. In business terms, they are claiming that they are writing only materials, not the final works. It's really easier to find them, as I said. They are offering a lot of more services, not only writing essays. They are offering translation, reviews, and slogans, everything like that. And then I tried to find how many students are visiting the websites from our university network, and the number was really huge. So even if they are at school, they are searching for companies like this. So I wanted to compare how the companies work. So I asked them to write for me a 12 pages essay about IT, and I wanted to know the prizes. And because it's not easy to find the prize, they are like Oriental. It's not you can't find the real prizes. So I asked them to write an essay, and then I choose two companies to write it, because I wanted to compare the quality. the companies were different. The price was the same. It was about 115 euro, and they both had the same conditions. I gave them 1 month to make it, and then I compared it, and it was completely uncomfortable because one company gave me work, and it was like average one. It was okay. Many students were like doing this type of text, but the second one was really bad quality. There were a lot of grammar mistakes. There were incorrect number of pages. It seems like somebody who has lack of experience wrote this kind of text. So even if you pay for your thesis or for some text, it doesn't mean that you will get good quality and good text. So now I will talk about my survey and the main findings, and it is about contract cheating in Czech Republic. So I asked the students why why they were cheating, and 41%. Oh, first of all, I should say, I'm sorry if there is here. No, it's missing. Yeah, so I will skip this one, and I will go to this one, because I asked them if they ever ask anyone to write a schoolwork seminar or final instead of them, and 8% said yes. So 8% of the respondents said yes, they were cheating. Then I asked them why they were cheated, and mostly it was because of the lack of time. Then they said that they didn't understand the issue, what they should write, or the other ones were just lazy. Then I asked them who did they ask to do it, and 60% said that they asked to do it by a friend or classmate, and 40% asked company. I asked them why they were using a friend, and they said that it was cheaper, and they believe that the friend will make it good because they know each other. And then I asked why they choose a company, and it was because it's more anonymous and nobody has to know that they are making a fraud. Then I asked them if they would do it again, and mostly it was like yes or maybe. And then I asked them if they were afraid of being detected, and 71% said that they are not afraid of being detected. And then I asked the people who didn't ask anybody to write an essay why, and mostly they wanted to buy themselves, but some of them said that they don't know that anybody can write it instead of them, or they said that it's really, really expensive for them. And another question was under what circumstances they would cheat. The most of them said they will never cheat, whatever. But 19% said that if they will have lack of time, they would cheat, or if they misunderstand the topic, didn't know what to write, they would cheat. And then I asked if they do know anybody who used a ghostwriter to cheat at school, and 34% said that they know anybody. So we were talking about the cheating in Czech Republic, and now I would like to move on to how you can deal with the contract cheating. So we need deeper research. Mine was first in Czech Republic, so we need much more to understand why students are cheating and learn how we can effectively prevent it. Then I think we should start with the teachers, because not everyone knows what academic integrity is, and most of them are not fighting with the cheaters. So they need to understand why it is important and why they should fight with it. Then the changing style of teaching could help, because if students find the lecture is like it's changing every time, and there are different tasks every year, so they will see that the teacher is trying to make it interesting for them. It could help to prevent cheating. And personal consultation, I think, is the best way how you can get to know if the student really understands what he wrote. Okay, the next one. I don't know how it works in other countries, but in Czech Republic, 99% of text students write at home. So I think it would be a good idea to train critical thinking and make students write at school. Because if you will get a sample how students are writing, and you can compare this work with another one. Next, we need access to the website of the cheating companies to be prohibited. As I said, in my university network, they were trying to find the companies so hard, so there were really a huge number of accesses. And the last, but not at least, we should make companies like Bili, but there is a question mark, because I think they will find another way how they could exist and how could they still helping the students to cheat. So that's why there is a question mark. And at the end, I would like to mention one project where I'm working on now. It's a global essay mail survey. The shortcut is GEMS. It's the project. This project survey is for students across Europe, Australia, and the America, and it investigates students' self-reported use of essay mails and associated sites or companies. It will be really his survey translated into a lot of languages. So if you will help us to make it work, I will be really happy. So that's all for me. I'll really thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, I will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for very interesting and also very, how can I say, dramatic report about, because I can say here in Slovenia, we don't have any legal organization that they are advertising, but yeah, we are very close and very near. So, are there any questions on this very interesting issue, please?
So, 71% of the students were not afraid to be caught.
Yeah.
Correct? Did you find out why?
I asked them why, and they said that there is one problem, because nobody is talking to them, they are not the teachers. They are discussing the thesis, okay, but they are discussing with what should you write now. They are not discussing if you understand what you are writing. So even if they don't write it, they will buy it and don't understand it at all. Nobody will notice it, because you are making presentation. They will say, okay, fine. That's why they are not afraid, because they just need to read it and be able to make a presentation. That's all.
Next question.
Veronica, thank you for the presentation and the interesting aspects of contract cheating that you brought into the discussion. I would like to assure you that this is a global problem and we face it. I suspect, but I don't have data, that in some countries the phenomenon has increased due to deteriorating financial situation. But I would like to bring to the discussion my own approach to to attempt to curb the problem. So, being an MBA director, I have to be part of the evaluator committee for assessing the final MBA thesis. And although there are cases where I suspected that something was fishy, I was not able to prove it, as you mentioned. So instead of going after a lengthy, expensive, and very tiresome process of identifying, I took another approach, and I proactively split the write-up of the thesis in smaller installments. So they have to come with first the proposal. And then I give them comments, and we give them comments, and then they have to come back with the literature review, and we give them comments, and they have to incorporate. And then the methodology, and we do the same thing. So doing it in small installments, first of all, provides better guidance to the student, and second, it becomes more difficult and more expensive for the student to contract out every single assignment, one after the other. I don't know if you have examined some similar approaches, or what you think on this subject.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because you stay in touch with the students. But when I was communicating with the companies, they said, if you will have some comments, please write me and we can make it. And if you wanna do it like this, the company can write you an essay, and if you will ask them to change something, they will do it instead of you.
For free?
Yeah. I asked because I was really curious about this. If we will split the thesis into several parts, they said that if you will need something, if you have some comments from a teacher or something like that, you should write it, and they will make it free to into the thesis. So it's a good idea, but they are working with it with this style of like teaching. So I'm not sure if it will help. It will make it like not too easy, because they will have to communicate with them and have some extra work, but I'm not sure if it will help.
Any other question? Okay, if no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now it is the last presentation for today, and the last speaker is coming from Turkey, and Turkey is in our hearts. We know why. Today it is a great day for Slovenia basketball team. Yeah, but we have closed this meeting before, and we are a bit nervous. I have to say frankly and honestly, but okay. Professor Salim Razi, coming from Çankaya Onski Smart University from Turkey. He is the vice dean at the Faculty of Education, and he works as assistant professor, and he's also a head of English language teaching department where they train non-English speakers teachers for speaking English. So she will present some aspects of how they handle with plagiarism and similar issues.
Okay, thank you for the lovely presentation. If you don't mind, I'd like to stand up during my presentation. This is as I am working for Faculty of Education, this is a common behavior for me. Today, I'd like to talk about similarity reports. I'm sure we are all familiar with similarity reports, but probably we all experience some problems how to interpret when we retrieve similarity reports. What about the content of my topic today? First, I'd like to refer to text matching softwares and why we changed the terminology from plagiarism detectors to text matching softwares. And then I'd like to move to our understanding of plagiarism, how to detect it, and what about the text matching software, how does it work, and how to retrieve the similarity report, and finally, with the help of some examples, I'd like to show how to benefit from similarity reports. Now, initially, let's try to understand what we mean, what a plagiarism detector used to mean to us, and what about a text matching software. Maybe Milan, as the developer of your software for the national software, maybe he would like to explain some aspects.
Difference is that text matching software only give you a similarity. How many words or characters similar with others? Plagiarism detection is not possible with software.
Okay.
It's possible only with a cooperation with software, and also someone who knows the content, who knows the domain. It's not possible, but in some cases, like copy-paste plagiarism, it is possible to determine that this passage of a text is plagiarized.
Thank you, Milan. Actually, it's the perfect answer. I mean, detection of plagiarism is something that a human being can do, not a tool or an online tool can do. But what about the text matching software? When it comes to text matching software, we try to use this terminology as a tool which helps us to identify matching indices in the text. In this respect, for example, when we recently searched on the Google for the terms such as plagiarism detector, as you see, you will almost see nothing. I recognize only two items here. One, recognizing plagiarism detector software, blah blah, and the other one, 10 free plagiarism detection tools. When you pay attention to the date of publication here, it belongs to 2013. Actually, represents the changes in our understanding of turning the terminology from plagiarism detection to text matching software. For example, when we refer to Turnitin's previous explanations, they regarded themselves as plagiarism detection services. As we see, it was again in 2013, and later we changed this terminology. At that time, as individuals, what was our prior expectation from so-called plagiarism detectors? Okay, here is the assignment. We give the assignment to the machine and then retrieve a report indicating whether there exists plagiarism or not. That was the expectation of academics. However, later we realized that it doesn't work in this way. Instead, what happens? Okay, we submit the assignments and we retrieve a report that we call now as similarity reports, and then as a human being, we work on the report in order to identify whether there exists plagiarism. Then, what's plagiarism? I'm sure we are all familiar with the terminology here. I'd like to highlight once more that when we refer to plagiarism, we are thinking about the ideas, works of any other materials that belong to someone else, however, using them in our own materials without giving the credit to the original authors. How common is plagiarism? If you are teaching, do you think that your students are plagiarizing? Are they? Yes. I realized that my students were plagiarizing only in 2010. Actually, they were cheating, but I had no idea about this. As you see, this is showing the number of plagiarizing students, and later I took some actions against preventing plagiarism. However, as you see, against all my concerns, some students are still trying to plagiarize. So, plagiarism exists. That is what we can understand from the characteristics of students. If it exists, then how can we detect it? two common things that we can do. The first thing, Google search. It is possible to detect plagiarism by searching on the Google. However, it's going to be time consuming, I guarantee this. And the second alternative is benefiting from a text matching software. Now, when we Google search, we can identify the matches between the sources and the student submission that exist on the internet. But when it comes to text matching softwares, then we go beyond the internet sources and we have an opportunity of adding some other sources. And then we will retrieve a similarity report in a systematic way that we can see the matches. Then here I try to visualize how the system works here. This is the submitted assignment by the student, and this is the software repository. Usually they have several repositories, such as, for example, which is very similar to Google search. This is the internet repository, and the second one might be coming from periodicals, such as journals, and the third one is coming from student papers, your own student papers, and the fourth one might be coming from institutional repository. So it means that benefiting from a text matching software is advantageous because we can also deal with the other student papers, especially in our own institution, so we have greater chances of seeing the similarities. Okay then, what is a similarity report? The text matching software checks the student assignment against the repositories and then delivers a report in which we can identify the highlights that representing matches between the existing sources. That's what we call as a similarity report. Then as a teacher, if there are matches in the similarity reports, is this something good or something should be avoided? What shall we do? What do we do in case of seeing similarities in the or matches in the similarity indices? What action do we take?
We try to analyze what the similarity means.
Okay, that's great. What do we try to do? We try to analyze where the highlight, where the match is coming from. This is so important because we should have some similarities, such as, for example, if you ask your students to write a thesis, it means that the student should be benefiting from the other sources existing in the relevant literature. And there should be matches with the in-text citations, there should be matches with the reference entries, and also the terminology students using in the paper should be matching with the existing sources. So, similarities may not be indicating problems all the time. However, for some aspects, they might be the indicators of some problems. Before moving to specific examples, I'd like to call your attention to an example here. For example, turn it in here, provides some color matches. When we check the assignment inbox, we see that the student's portfolio is organized in a decreasing way with the accompany of the colors here. For example, blue color is representing no matches in the text, and then green color representing up to 24% matches, and then it goes on like this towards red. Okay, if we examine at the initial step, this might be the indicator of possible plagiarism. However, possible plagiarism. It is impossible to accuse student of plagiarism only by considering the numbers, I mean the similarity ratios that we retrieve here, or just vice versa. Having 0% similarity does not necessarily mean that there is no plagiarism. This is quite important. For example, I'll show you two examples from my classes. As you see, here they are in a descending order, and this is accompanied by the ratios here. They are all green, however, does not necessarily mean that there is no plagiarism among these students. And as you see, when we go further, this time we see the other colors. Okay, I see, for example, here red with a ratio of 99. As a lecturer, when I see a 99 similarity, this is an alarm. Because usually this cannot happen. So I need to carefully check where the similarity is coming from. For example, a usual case in such an instance might be the student might be a retaker and might be allowed to revise the assignment. So the system might be showing the similarity with the previous assignment. So we need to carefully analyze where the similarity is coming from there. But be careful. The index, similarity index, might be misleading us. So all the time we need to go further here. Here I'd like to provide some explanation about the similarities. For example, the similarities refers to the matches between the submitted assignment and the existing sources. But the ratio, we never use the ratio. This is a problematic issue actually in my own country, and probably I believe that there are some other institutions in Europe which depend on the ratio, simple ratio, rather than examining the matches in terms of plagiarism-free submissions. In this case, we go back to Milan, and what we do here is retrieving the similarity report and benefiting from this report as a human being in order to understand plagiarism. Okay, here's an example. And the example shows what a similarity report is. This is the submission by the student and continues here. You see the sliding bar there. And this shows the match 63%, quite high match we have here. Probably it refers to a problematic issue in the paper. However, again, I cannot say this without checking the text. And we see the matches. Where do the matches come from? As you see, 60% of the match is coming from the same institution. So hugely benefiting from another assignment. Now our responsibility here is checking this assignment, whether the same student. What might be the possible alternatives here? The student might have an intention of submitting the same assignment or almost the same assignment for the two courses. Or the student might be retaking the course and then revising the assignment. So as a lecturer, we need to identify this. And if you allow the student to resubmit without a revision assignment, then we need to omit this source from the similarities, otherwise it's not going to be fair. Another example, here as you see, this time we have 55% matches. And this is different from the previous one, because as you see in the previous one, the huge amount of the similarity was coming from the same source. However, this time we see several blends of sources here. Is it possible to regard this as plagiarism? We see that student had an intention of changing only very few words in the text, had an intention of paraphrasing, but was not successful at paraphrasing them, so it is definitely plagiarism. However, the difference, as you see here, blending different sources. What about this one? Do we see any matches? Yes, we can recognize several small matches here. However, these matches are the terminologies, common words that we use in writing research papers. So we do not consider such matches as plagiarism. Although we have the ratio, for example, here 27, it doesn't necessarily mean that the student has plagiarized up to 27% of the paper here. If the rest of the paper is written in a similar manner, it means that there is no concern with regards to plagiarism here. Now, we can see here another type of plagiarism. This is what I call as secondary source plagiarism. I mean, the student does not go to the library in order to find out the relevant sources. Instead, the student finds a good source which benefited heavily from the relevant literature. So, instead of going to the library, he reads one source and then says the other step as if she read the others. Here, for example, the student refers to uses in-text citation correctly, but indeed the student had no idea about this source. So as you see here, these are in-text citations, but coming from the other sources. So we also need to be careful about secondary source plagiarism. And here in this text, we do not see plagiarism. We see several quotations. The quotations are used in between double quotation marks, and the quotations are accompanied with the author's surname, date of publication, and page number. In terms of plagiarism, there is nothing wrong. However, in terms of academic writing, it cannot be acceptable. As you see, almost more than 50% of the text that we recognize here is directly coming from other sources. So what we need to do here is not plagiarism, but encouraging students to paraphrase these quoted expressions. Another example, this time, zero similarity. Do you think it is problematic to have zero similarity? Yes, probably. Probably we are in danger if we retrieve zero similarity for an assignment, because when we ask students to write especially academic papers, it means that they need to search for the relevant research and then refer to other sources to write their papers. So there must be matches between the relevant literature and the student paper. However, we see no matches here. What might be the reason? There might be several reasons actually. The first reason, okay, it is the failure of the text matching software, because they are not covered. I mean, the sources that the student is referring to are not covered by the text matching software. That might be the first possible explanation. And the others? Translation might be, okay, translated text might be the cases.
Stolen ideas. Stolen ideas using different words.
So paraphrasing again.
No. Someone has the same idea, and you write by your own, with your words.
Okay, paraphrasing the others' ideas without referring to them.
But it's not paraphrasing. I think in paraphrasing you change few words in one text. It's more sophisticated. It's paraphrasing, but it's very different. It's possible to have different methods to prove the same things. But nothing is possible to find in the text for the original source, except the same idea is in the same text.
Okay. When I retrieve zero similarity, I always download the original submitted file in order to see what there is in the Microsoft Word file. For example, the student might have the print screen of this text and then copy it and paste it into the Word document. However, not as an original Microsoft Word document. It's going to be a picture. Therefore, the text matching software will not be able to identify the similarities there. So there might be some other problems, as also you explained in your talk, using some other characters, adding something else in order to combat with the text matching software. So it's always a good idea to download the original material and then check from the deb. And finally, I'd like to also call your attention to the reference list. Do we expect matches in the reference list? So there is no problem.
No. If all the reference list is coming from another paper, then it should be a major problem.
Okay, it could be a major problem. This shouldn't be problematic because student benefits from other sources and the other researchers also benefited from these sources, but we see different colors here. But if we see all the reference entries in the references in the same color, it might be an indicator of, again, second-hand plagiarism. So in such instances, we had better talk to the students in order to ensure ourselves whether the student has written the assignment himself or translation. Yeah, or translation.
It's also situations. If you have, for example, we have had some examples where someone is in the same order, but references have been one reference and then the second reference has been moved to third place.
Okay, changing the order of index citations.
Yes, but it takes citations.
Okay.
The second it takes citations. So it's possible to find translated things also.
So translation also works. Yes. Okay. It's good. What to conclude here today? Okay, text matching software might enable easy detection. However, we must be careful. The detection, the responsibility of the detection of plagiarism belongs to the lecturer, not the software itself. So we need to be carefully analyzing similarity reports. I'd like to thank you all for being here, and I'm happy to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you. So we have still time for questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to make two suggestions because when I'm thinking about your presentation, the first one is the colors of the percentages. There is a suggestion that goes to the providers of software. I think it is important to get rid of the colors or of this type of colors, because like red color is a signal and it's a cultural meaning. And it's very dangerous to use the red color only for the high percentages. So they just choose something else what's not red and not green because of the meaning. But sometimes the 0% should be red, as someone told.
I think green might be more problematic in comparison to red.
Yeah.
When the student sees red, okay, there is something wrong. But when the student sees green, that okay, it's fine.
Yeah, so I would prefer to use no green and no red at all. So the second one is that goes to all of us who are supporting departments when using text matching software. We should start a discussion about the meanings of the percentages and the percentages used for special assignments or for special subjects, because in some of our work we have completely different percentages that should be green or red. That's if you use the colors again. So let's say law, you work with legal texts and they are as they are. You have to use this material, and then if you have 10% matching, it should be red because it's 2 less matching. and in other subjects it's completely different. So that's there's a lot of need to discussions and to support the users of the software.
So it shouldn't be based on, shortly, it shouldn't be based on the numbers.
Same numbers have different, completely different meanings in different subjects and in different departments. That's it. We should tell them.
And also, Salim, just another suggestion is that when we use text matching services, whoever uses, they need to be trained properly as well, because sometimes, like us, text matching services, they also evolve. When they started, the only thing they can do is the text matching. But now they have included, for example, if you want, you can remove the references omitted. If you want, you can remove the first submission. So those are the things we need to be in touch with them. So the staff should be trained, always be trained with the advances they are going on as well.
Actually, that's what we discussed yesterday at the library, and we thought that it could be a good idea. Text matching software developers could train some librarians in order to help the academics at the university with the technical details. Probably they will do this.
So you haven't mentioned student use of the software.
Yeah, actually,
it was in there. Okay. Because I have very strong views about students using it. I've got no objection to students using it to help them formatively learn, particularly if it's under guidance. But what I do object to is students using it who have no understanding of what they're seeing. Because I think, well, I know that they will use it wrongly.
Sure. Again, it was the topic of the yesterday's speech. I developed a writing model for teaching academic writing, anonymous multi-mediated writing model in which students exchange peer feedback and where students submit their assignments throughout the semester several times. So each time they submit their assignment, I enable them to see the similarity report, so they can see the failure there throughout the semester, not at the last minute, and then work on it, and then ask for help from me, and then revise it accordingly.
Thank you. Your examples were all from English language. Turkey is a big country, but how is the database for Turkish texts to compare with? I mean, is there enough that you can compare your new work with this?
Since I've been involved in English language teaching department, I simply use text matching software with the English language. However, there are colleagues at my faculty and institution who use it for Turkish language, and it works. There are several text matching software products, and even there is an intention of developing our national text matching software. I have no idea about it, how it works, but the others all work very well with the Turkish language as well.
Thank you. So, thank you very much
My
for your
pleasure.
presentation.
Thank you for being here.
Now, this was the last presentation for today. Please allow me only 3 minutes closing notes, maybe to close this meeting today. First of all, I have to introduce myself because I forgot to do this. My name is Miro Krušnik. I'm coming from Central Technological Library at the University of Ljubljana. But what I want to say is that I am director of academic library. I'm not professional in the field, but I am, and academic library should be, as a part of infrastructure, should be user of your experiences, your knowledge, your skills. So you are developer, we are users, okay? So we, as the users, or I, as the user, did some notes and some questions, but I don't expect answers today because anyone doesn't have proof to speak today because we have to close. But maybe some ideas to develop and maybe to follow up with you, I hope deeply in Ljubljana or in Maribor again, maybe that's more formal way. So, academic integrity is absolutely very essential substance during educational and research process, but it's not only academic integrity. My question for next time, maybe for a lady from UK, from Coventry, is what about professional integrity? Because universities produce not only researchers and academics, but also professionals. Probably we have to do some research how our, let's say, output, knowledge output, function in commercial sector, I don't know, governmental sector. Okay. Then also academic integrity and research policies. Sometimes research policies push academics to be not at a not very high level, especially those quantitative methods of evaluation do some mess, especially here in Slovenia. This is also an issue. The next issue, and for me very important, is academic integrity and in open science environment. Especially two critical points. One is open publishing with those predator journals, with peer review systems, etc. Where is the border? I mean, we are flexible, but not so much flexible that we have to allow, every shit in our branch. And also the second critical point here is research data management and reuse of research data. I am afraid about possible manipulation, and now we are at the start. What will happen? I have to say we should be prepared. So, and also, I would say the last thing, and I think it's not the least, is information literacy and lectures and academic integrity. Do we have enough knowledge, and do professors have enough knowledge how to educate new students, new generations, to be honest? Because sometimes it seems that students, this is my experience, the students do not know that they are cheating. They think that with increasing internet literacy, it seems that it's decreasing information literacy and possible level, decreasing of level of, let's say, academic or professional integrity. So, those questions I put to you, and I expect maybe answers in the next few years. Very welcome in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, in CTK, and I would like to thank all of you, and with those words, I would like to close this meeting today. Thank you very much.